Discretion is advised.
If you feeling like a pimp, the niggas call pimp.
Howdy, this is your party host, Blind Adam Wonders, the Comic Pimp. You're tuning into Awesome Sauce Radio here on Comic Crusaders, www.comiccrusaders.com. You can check out the replay Sunday night, 7 p.m. on Demon Seed Radio, www.demonseedradio.com. I'd like to give a special shout out to the New Jersey Collector Fest, which is happening this Sunday, June 13th, at the Wayne, New Jersey Police Athletic League building, 1 PAL in Wayne, New Jersey. Go to their website and check it out. And before I introduce tonight's special guest, who is a friend and a mentor to me, if Al could please show the Thundercats bloopers, that would be awesome.
You gotta snap out of it, Lion-O! Call the Thundercats before...
Shut up, you fuck. I should have known the Territor didn't mean us any harm when the Sword of Omens didn't obey me. And anyway, it was just plain stupid to assume it might be bad. Just what the fuck am I talking about?
It's when Wily Cat and Kid are pretending to be the most helpful that they're dropping their pens on the thing while I'm talking. Let's find the mega condenser. I'm saying that too fast. Let's find the mega condenser. Still going too fast.
What's wrong, Lion-O?
Oh, fuck, here it is again.
What's here again?
That thing, that mega thing.
Want me to say it?
Yes!
I'm going to put this one right between her pretty.
That's the line of the show right here.
And keep your foot off that blasted samoflange.
What the fuck is a samoflange?
I have to do that again.
Oh, Lion-O! We're not...
What's the matter, Snarf?
You got a cold.
Motherfucker!
You fucking dog, yeah!
Shut the fuck up! Get over here, bitch!
Ah, damn!
Run out the fucking plank, boys! Come here, motherfucker. Thunder! Thundercats! I'm going too high.
You've got to get back to the lair, Panthro, before those mutants do something drastic.
Come on, Hyman, get yourself together. Come on, just...
I want to see your tits, my dear.
Can't stand it. Going to pass out.
Can't hold on to it any longer.
And we are back. This is Blind Adam. This is Awesome Sauce Radio here on Comic Crusaders. Now I'd like to bring on tonight's special guest. He is a friend. He is one of my mentors. Without his voice growing up, I would not have a microphone in my hand today. The legend, Larry Kenny, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, Adam. Thanks a lot for playing those outtakes before you bring me on. I have nothing to do with any of that.
I saw it in the cartoon.
I know. You know, it's funny because those outtakes, of course, we were recording that in 1985, 84, 85, 86. And at that time, whenever people were recording a show and they made mistakes or they wanted to get crazy like we were doing there, nobody else would ever hear it except, us, the engineer, the director, the people in the booth, But then came along the advent of the internet. Now everybody can hear them.
So, all right. I'm going to start my questions a little out of order.
Yeah.
How did the Thundercat bloopers wind up on the internet?
One of the engineers, recording engineers, I believe it was Larry Frank, apparently uploaded them to the internet. And I'll never forget when my son first said to me, "Dad, there are some outtakes from the show on the internet." And I was just, at that point, I was just getting used to, there's an internet? What is that all about? And when I heard them, I thought, oh my God, no, I was really upset because, I have a very fond feeling for the legacy of Thundercats. And I don't ever do anything on purpose to denigrate the legacy, there are several reasons why, but let me just say that I try very hard not to accept jobs, that I've had a lot of people ask me, you do this show in Lion-O's voice, but say this. And I'll look at the script and I'll say, no, I'm not going to say that as Lion-O, because my feeling always is, I don't want the fans of the show to ever see something on the air and think, oh, that's horrible. I wish Larry hadn't done that. I wish this or that. So, but my son said, so I was upset when he first showed them to me. But my son said, "Dad, you have to realize that your fans are not 8 years old anymore. They're in their 30s, and this is not going to offend them. They're going to love this." And I said, "Well, okay. I mean, there was nothing I could do about it. Anyway, it was on the internet already." I said, "Okay, but if I get one bad email, I never have. Everybody loves him. It's a different world now,
Mm-hmm. So I first heard that, and that'd be a good 20 years ago now. I laughed, and then I showed it to all my comic book friends.
Yeah.
I was like, "You gotta check this out. This is hysterical."
Yeah.
So are you excited for the New Jersey Collector Fest coming up this Sunday?
Oh yeah. It's a great con. It's one day. Most of the Comic Cons are 2 days. But I've done the New Jersey Collector Fest at least once, maybe twice before, and it was great. The people who run it are fantastic, and of course the fans who come are incredible out there in New Jersey, and so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw they have a really cool VIP package. Where you buy the VIP ticket, you also get a Larry Kenny autograph.
Oh, okay. Good.
Kenny runs a great show.
Yes, Ken Lawrence. Yes, he does.
Yeah, I've known him since high school. So.
Have you? Yeah. You New Jersey guys stick together, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes.
As it should be.
Yeah, that's awesome. You doing any now that conventions? How amazing is it to have conventions come back after a year?
Oh, it's fantastic. We've all missed getting together, all the fans and the actors and everybody. I've done a couple already since we've been back. I did Nashville a couple of months ago, and I just did Pensacola, Florida, 2-3 weeks ago. And it was great. It was like nothing had ever happened. Everybody picked up the ball from where we left off a year ago, and like nothing ever happened. So it's going to be fun in New Jersey too. And then I'm doing Terrificon in Connecticut.
Hey, Mitch, how you doing?
Mitch Halleck.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, Mitch.
Yep,
Everybody.
it's August 30th through August 2nd this year, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's July 31st is the Friday, and then August 1st and 2nd, something like that. Yeah. So and then going to West Palm Beach, Florida, at the end of August.
Oh wow!
For, UltraCon.
That is amazing, and to everyone who's listening in the audience who has not had the pleasure of meeting Larry at a convention, it is one of the coolest experiences you'll have at a show.
That's nice.
It really was a dream come true when I first met you a couple of years back at Terrificon.
That was in New Jersey, wasn't it? No, it was at Terrificon at Mohegan Sun. Yeah. It's a great Comic-Con. Oh, you can send Mitch
Yeah,
Hallock.
that was my first press pass to cover a convention for
Was it?
the podcast.
Super. That's great. So you get in free.
Yeah, I got to fulfill a childhood dream when you critiqued. I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Pops.
Hey, watch it. You do that too well.
Thank you very much. That really warms my heart. So, how did you come up with the voice for Lando in Thundercats?
Well, that wasn't really very hard. If you think about it, it's really just my voice. I mean, it's a little more dramatic on TV, but it's just really my voice. In fact, they told us when we auditioned for Thundercats, for the Thundercats themselves, they said, we don't want, quote, cartoon voices for the Thundercats. We want them to sound like real people, So I just kind of used my own voice and fortunately got the job. Now for the mutants, Mum Ra's gang, you had to come up with quote, cartoon character voices, like Jackalman, Safari Joe, and all of those. But again, Lion-O is just my voice. Now, of course, as I'm sitting here talking with you, I sound like, sort of omens come to my hand. I, Lion-O, command it. But when you hear it on TV, it's sort of omens come to my hand. I, Lion-O, command it. A little different. Same voice.
Yeah. So how did you come up with some of the other voices like Jackalman and Safari Joe?
Well, Jackalman was interesting because first of all, when I got to the audition back in '84, they had this enormous room with the walls were covered with illustrations of all the characters and the Thunder Tank and Cat's Lair and all that kind of stuff. And they gave us a synopsis, maybe a paragraph or two of what the show was about and a synopsis of each character. And you were able to sit there and look at that for, 15, 20 minutes. And then, then they would come to you and say, I'm sorry. They would come to you and say, all right, go in the booth, and give us your idea of what this character should sound like. Well, I looked at Jackalman, and he seemed to me to be very well. A jackal to begin with is, I think of him as kind of a sneaky, sly character. Kind of sneaking around all the time. And immediately, I guess I channeled in my mind one of my favorite characters from when I was a kid. My favorite TV show at the time was Rocky and Bullwinkle, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Oh, heck yeah.
60s, yeah. And there was a character named Snidely Whiplash, who was the penultimate villain. He wore a black suit and a cape, and had a big, tall stovepipe hat and a mustache that went like this, And he was like, I'll get you, Nell, and I'll tie you to the railroad track. And I thought that would be a good voice for this character. So basically, I stole it from.
That's awesome sauce.
Yeah. So that's where I got that voice from Snidely Whiplash on Rocky and Bullwinkle.
And now for something you really like.
Yes.
We must get the Thundercats, yes?
Why do you think the Thundercats, has lasted the test of time?
Well, that's a tough question. You have to think about what made it popular in the first place, I guess, and that's also a tough question. But I think it's the very basic idea that is expressed by the Code of Thundera. Truth, honor, justice,
honor, loyalty,
and loyalty. That's exactly right. And I think it struck a bell with people. It struck a note with people. Back in the 80s, especially the late 70s, early 80s, most of the cartoon shows were pretty violent. and kind of nasty-minded, if you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It was all crushing the opponent. It was all we must win at all costs, you know. And I think Rankin Bass, who produced Thundercats, realized that and said, "Let's go a different route. Let's go with a group of people who are only trying to do good, and make the world a better place." And when they encounter the bad guys, their first thought is not to crush them. It's not to wipe them out. It's to try to work with them. If you think about it, the Thundercats always gave even Mum-Ra a chance to, see the light and to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And when he didn't, of course, we beat the shit out of him. But that was the basic idea of the show. And I think it caught on with a lot of people.
Yeah. Actually, one of my favorite things is I caught in the Thundercats on season 2 when it first came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I just found out that I had retinitis pigmentosa, which is a degenerative eye condition.
Oh, really?
And when you're 13, you're being told you're going to be blind one day. It really took a while to adjust.
Sure.
And then I saw Thundercats. There was a blind Thundercat. And I was like, this is awesome. And it just helped me realize I can be anything I want.
Oh. You see, that's I love that, Adam. And that's exactly what I was talking about when I said, because I've gotten so many emails and letters before emails, I mean, the show's been on for 35, 36 years. So I've always gotten mail and now emails from people who tell me that many of them who did not have a really good childhood, if you know what I'm talking about. And I knew what they were talking about, but they would say, but when Thundercats was on, I'd go in my room and watch Thundercats for half an hour, and it made me feel better. It made me forget my problems, at least for that amount of time. And so many have told me that they got their moral compass in part from Thundercats.
Oh, yeah. I actually still live by the code of Thundera even today in my mid-40s.
Yeah.
Because it was just so simplistic.
Yes.
In such a great way to just have an outlook on the world.
Yeah. That's what I loved about the show too. I mean, I would have done the show because it was a job. I'm not trying to say that the only reason I did that show is because I recognized the goodness of it. I was an actor who was hired to do a role or several roles, but since it went on the air and became popular, and I've learned about what it meant to so many people, it's given me a new sense of it's not just a cartoon show. That's why I'm so protective of the legacy of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. These next two questions came out from a buddy of mine. Hey Mel V, how you doing, buddy? There's a lot of chat about a live-action Thundercats movie. Who would you imagine playing the part of Lion-O?
Well, I'd like to.
Yeah.
For one thing, the movie is not going to be live action, from what I've heard. It's going to be a CGI.
Oh, really? All right.
That's what I heard. No, I don't. The thing about a Thundercats movie has been bouncing around on the internet for at least 10, 15 years. And in fact, Warner Brothers, who owns the rights to the property now, announced back in 2010 that they were going to do a Thundercats live action movie. And about 3 or 4 months, they even had a director and a screenwriter signed up. But they decided for some reason to shelve that and do a new Thundercats TV series, which they did in 2011.
And that's the one where you play Claude, right?
I played Claudius, yeah, Lion-O's father. Yeah, and that's in that reincarnation of the show, yeah. But so, like I said, there's been a lot of talk about a new Lion-O, a new Thundercats movie. I've even seen for years now. I've seen videos showing Brad Pitt as Lion-O and things like that. I'm sure you've seen it. but it's never come to fruition until now. It sounds like it's really going to happen, but we'll see. You know, showbiz is a funny thing.
Exactly. He also wanted to ask. Do you have any memories of working in Times Square?
I'm sorry?
He wanted to know if you had any memories of working in Times Square.
Working in Times Square?
I have no clue what you meant by it. I'm just asking a question for a colleague of mine.
I don't really know what he's talking about.
Neither do I. So, Melody.
Well, I have, you know, I mean, I've done some things in studios that are in Times Square in Manhattan, New York. MTV is right there at 42nd, 43rd and Broadway.
Yeah, that's right.
But I've never really worked steadily.
I have no clue.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's a colleague of mine. I go on his podcast all the time.
Okay.
He couldn't make it tonight, so I promised him I would do that.
Maybe he's thinking I was the naked cowboy. Wasn't me.
Cool. Speaking of MTV, you know, how did you come up with the voice for the Best Week Ever?
Good memory. That was on VH1, actually.
Yep.
Best Week Ever. VH1 back in the 80s, I think. Well, you know, sometimes you go to auditions for things and they can only tell you so much about here. Okay, here's the kind of guy we want, or here's what we're looking for. And at that point, on that particular one, it was, we want really energetic, you know, your voice, but just over the top, being crazy, you know. So I said, you mean something like, it's the best week ever? And they said, yeah, you got the job. And I thought, oh, Christ, I'm going to have to do that now every week for however long this show is and scream for an hour. I used to come away from those recording sessions not able to talk I mean, I could talk, but it sounded like this, you know, for a couple of days. But it was a lot of fun to do. As a matter of fact, you know, I still use that voice on Skittles commercials. I don't know if you know, but I'm the voice of at the end of every.
Yes, I do. I was just reminded about that from a buddy of mine today because he's like,
feel the rainbow, taste the rainbow. That's kind of the same voice, you know. It's the best week ever.
Yeah. Like I said, that looked like that was a fun gig to be a part of.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it really was. We had a good time recording that. I won't go into any detail, but it was quite a recording session every week when we did that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. So, out of all your other commercial work, do you have any favorite commercials and or catchphrases that caught on? You know, like Taste the Rainbow?
Yeah, well, the two products that I've done for the longest period of time are Count Chocula and Sonny, the Cocoa Puffs bird. I've been those voices for about 40 years now. Yeah, just about. So those obviously have a fond place in my heart. You know, they made me a lot of money and they're fun to do. Other than those, I mean, I've done so many, you know, that sometimes people will come up to me at a Comic-Con or something and say, I loved you on that one commercial where you were the guy that, and I have no recollection of it at all. You know, it's been so many. But yeah, Thundercats, and I mean Thundercats, of course, Silverhawks, all the cartoon shows. But being Count Chocula is always fun, you know. In fact, I even got to sing on one Count Chocula commercial. I got to sing Count Chocula cereal is coming your way. How about a monster for breakfast today?
Yeah.
And Sonny, the Cocoa Puffs bird, is always fun to do, you know. Yahoo! I'm Cocoa. Oh, I blew the line. I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's fun to do for about a half an hour.
That's amazing. let's see. You know, speaking of Sunny, this question is for Sunny. Why are you so cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
Well, have you ever tried it? I mean, my God, it's the best. Try it, and you'll be cuckoo too.
It's one of the best cereals ever made.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So this next question is for Sunny and for Count Chocula. Who wins in a fight?
You mean the fight between the Count and Sonny?
Count and Sunny.
Of course, there's no question the Count would win, because if he were hitting me hard, and I was about to fall down and lose the fight, I would bite him on the neck. Fight over.
So, what advice would you give to someone wanting to start a career in voiceover?
Don't do it, because I don't need any more competition. You know, other people trying to get the jobs, and I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. My advice has always been for people who want to be a voiceover artist is to, take classes. If you go online and Google or Bing or whatever search engine you use, let's say you live in Pensacola, Florida. You go on and Google voice acting classes or voiceover classes, things like that, in Pensacola, Florida. Well, actually, I guess when you use a search engine and if you just put in voice acting classes, I think it automatically gives you the ones nearest you. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Google something that said voice acting classes in, and then put in the area you live in, you know, and you'll see a whole list of people offering classes in voice acting, voiceover technique, and things like that. I still think that's the best way to get into the business. I know there are now, with the advent of the internet, there are lots of companies that have sprung up saying, we'll make you a voiceover star. Just send us $300.
Yeah, I've seen those, and I said there's also a Leprechaun, and there's a Tooth Fairy, and there's Nigerian prince and princesses who need me to wire the money too.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know.
That, like I said, the only, like I said, that's why I asked a friend of mine, like they hooked me up with a place called The Edge, which is in New York. So just like I said, do your research. And so, what are some of your fondest memories of being on the IMS in the morning?
Oh gosh, that was a heck of a run. I was on IMS in the morning for 35 years, starting back in 1973, and up until 2013, something like that, 2008. It's 35 years anyway. Yeah, so 2008. It was fun, and it was crazy. You know, if you've ever listened to Imus in the Morning, God rest his soul, he passed away a couple of years ago. It was a wild, kind of a crazy type show, you know. But my favorite part of it was the travel. We were on radio only for up until about, I guess, early 90s, maybe mid 90s. And then we were on television and radio simulcast. So once we got on television, we started traveling and doing the show from Boston, from Dallas, from LA, you know. About every other month we would take the show on the road. And that was great because I love to see other cities, you know, and meet other people from around the country. But other than that, it was, you know, just like everything else. You show up and do the work and get your money and go home.
Nice. What was so? I know you did a lot of impersonations on the show. What were some of your favorites?
Yes, do you remember did you listen to the show when it was on?
Actually, it was one of my God to Rest Her Soul. It was one of my grandmother's favorite things to watch and to listen to in the morning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I did. I guess the first voice I ever did on that show was Richard Nixon. And,
wow.
Yeah. In fact, I used to open every show with "Imus in the morning. I don't know, it's me, Dick. How are you doing today?" Then we'd talk about what's going on that day and something crazy about politics, you know. And I would do so many voices. Gosh, Wilford Brimley. I did Wilford Brimley for years, and Teddy Kennedy, you know, saying things like, "Yes, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it." Inside joke.
Let's see. This is something as how real was the feud between Imus and Stern, like behind the scenes?
You know, that was a sad thing. You know, Don Imus had a very bad temper, and especially back in the early days. I'm talking about 1980. The mid 80s, when he was doing a lot of drinking and drugs, and I'm not giving information that is new here. He talked about that for years and years afterwards. He cleaned himself up. I mean, he became so straight that, you know, he wouldn't drink wine or anything like that. But in the old days, he was very nasty sometimes when he got high and he got drunk. And unfortunately, one day we were in the office, and this new kid that NBC, this was at WNBC Radio in New York. And so we were sitting there in the office at 30 Rock and Rockefeller Center. And this new kid they had just hired to do the afternoon show, we were doing the morning show, was Howard Stern. And we hadn't heard of him or anything like that. And he, one day we're sitting there chatting, and Don was in one of his moods, you know, he was flying a little high and not really himself. And Howard Stern walked into the office and said, "Hi, I'm Howard Stern." And that Imus just went crazy. "You don't just walk into my office, you punk. You get out of here." Well, Howard never forgot that until the day Imus died. Howard hated Don Imus. And Don tried to apologize to him for years and years, and would even go on the air and say, I was such a jerk. I don't blame him. But I think to this day, Howard just despises Imus. I may be wrong, but that's
It was the Cardinals. One of the cardinal rules for any Whack Pack member was you were not allowed to mention Imus. It was frowned upon.
I'm sorry?
It was frowned upon to mention Don.
You mean around Howard Stern?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. I know that. Yeah. I find that sad because, and I know Howard. I mean, I haven't seen him for 20 years, but we have the same agent, so you know I know him, and I've never discussed it with him. And again, I haven't seen him for 20 years, but I always wished I could do something about that rift between him and Don, because Don became a good guy after all of that, you know, and he felt terrible about it. But Howard would never give him even consider, you know, well, the guy was a drunk and alcoholic, and a drug addict, and so why should he would never give that up, you know. Probably still hasn't. That's him. That's on him.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What was it like being in the Grand Theft Auto games?
Oh, I was on Grand Theft Auto 4. It's the only one I was on. It was fun. It was basically just like, recording a commercial. I mean, you're in the booth by yourself, and you read the script and everything. And that was the first video game that I was a part of. It was a brand new genre when I did it. And I've done several of them since. It's a lot of fun. But the most fun one and the most recent one I did is a video game, a very popular video game called Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, wow.
And for that one, I didn't just record my voice. I was on camera, if you will. My character was on camera. But to record that one, I had to go to this enormous airplane hangar in Long Island, which was a studio. And it was something like I'd never seen before. There were thousands of cameras on the ceilings and on the walls. And when you got there, when I got there, they put this like a latex spandex suit on me, covered my entire body, had a helmet on with a metal thing that came out like this, down like this, and then it had a light in it that shone in your eyes the entire time you were working, and a microphone. It had gloves on, boots, and it had all over it. It had these little receptors. These I don't even know what they call them, little patches, and those were electronic, and those are what told the computers how you move. I know it's very difficult to explain.
Oh, wow.
But some of you may have seen news stories or something on TV about, it's called mocap, motion capture. You familiar with motion capture? It's where they put all the actors in I think the first movie to use it was Avatar. It was that kind of thing. They put all the actors in these things, and I always get confused when I'm trying to explain it to people, but it's an incredible process. I had never seen anything.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was. This is very different. A lot of fun, a lot of work too.
Yeah. What's it like working with Seth MacFarlane and the Family Guy? I know Lionel's made several cameos.
Yes, well, that's true. Lionel, I guess, has made several cameos on Family Guy. I've only been the voice of Lionel in one of those. Seth MacFarlane, I think, did the voice of Lionel very well on a few of them. And but he asked me to do, well, he called my agent one day and asked me if I would come and do a small, probably a 2-minute scene on Family Guy. And it's funny because I'd seen Family Guy, and I thought it was brilliant, genius, and I still think Seth MacFarlane's a genius. But I was worried about doing Lion-O on there because, as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm very protective of the legacy of Thundercats and Lion-O, and I loved watching Family Guy, but it was kind of, well, dirty. Us old folks would say, well, that's kind of dirty. The language is kind of, unlike what we were doing back in the 80s, which you would never say anything, nasty or dirty about anybody. So I was afraid I was hesitant to do it. And my son talked me into it because he said, Dad, there are big movie stars who are begging to be on Family Guy like they are on The Simpsons. It's the hit show. And I said, okay, well, I'll do it. But if they send me a script first, send me a script. And I'll look at the script, and they did. And I looked at the script, and I said, hell no, I'm not going to do this scene because it had, well, I'll tell you the ending. My son convinced me to go ahead and do it, and I did. And it's a scene where, if you're familiar with Family Guy, I'm sorry, but
is that the one that came out straight to DVD?
I don't really know, but I know it was a scene where Fred Griffith, is it the father in the show? Fred. Peter Griffith, right, or Griffin. He and Quagmire or somebody in this episode are in San Francisco, driving down the street, And Peter Griffin says something like, boy, I bet you'd find a lot of strange couples living together in this town, huh? And immediately they cut to an apartment occupied by Lion-O, Chitara, and Snarf. And the scene is Lion-O is standing there kind of staring off into space. And Chitara walks into the room and she says, what's up, Lion-O? And he says, I'm not sure. I know Mum-Ra's up to something, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And I've got to find out. And she says, I'm going to the can. And she goes into the bathroom. Lion-O picks up the Sword of Omens, which gives him sight beyond sight, points it toward the bathroom door and says, Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight. At which point, Snarf walks by and says, what you doing, Lion-O? And Lion-O says, nothing. You want to get high? And that's where the scene ends.
Because I saw that, and I'm like, okay, Seth MacFarlane must have been spying on every kid back in the 80s when they saw Chitara.
Yeah. Chitara, whom I affectionately call the original Thundercats Ho, by the way. Affectionately.
Do you have any what are some of your fondest memories of Silverhawks?
Silverhawks, well, I always thought it was a very good show, and it never really got as much attention as Thundercats, and understandably, because Thundercats was first, and it was a whole new thing. But I find in the last several years, Thundercats is becoming more popular. When I go to Comic-Cons, for example, more and more people are coming up and talking about Silverhawks, how it was one of their favorite shows. And as a matter of fact, for years doing Comic-Cons, I never even took pictures, prints, of Bluegrass, my character on Silverhawks, with me. People started asking for them. Can I get your autograph on a Bluegrass print picture? So now I take them, and they're very popular. But it was, it was just as much fun to do as Thundercats, and the main reason I think is because it was the same cast. The same cast as the people on Thundercats did Silverhawks, and then Tiger Sharks, and a bunch of animated holiday specials for Rankin and Bass, like Star for Jeremy, and we did one called The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, which has become a very popular, that was claymation. And they play that every year on some of the channels, holiday time.
I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But so I enjoyed it just as much. It was the same, not only the same cast, me and Peter Newman and Lynn Lipton, Earl Hammond, Earl Hyman. Oh gosh, who am I leaving out? I hope nobody. But so it was the same people who were just so much fun to work with, and we had been working together for 3 years on Thundercats anyway. So we knew each other very well, and it was kind of the same process as Thundercats. Same fun.
That's amazing. I'm actually just starting to rediscover Silverhawks now.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that they just came across it or went back to watch it. A lot of people say, "Well, I I remember seeing it when I was a kid, but and recently I found my old VHS copy of it or something like that. And
for me, it came up in a discussion on one of my friends' podcasts, and I'm like, I haven't seen it in years. Let me see how it holds up.
I think it does. I think it does.
Yeah. So I really want to thank you. Thank you for being a guest on the show.
My pleasure.
Thank you for being one of my mentors, and thank you for always sharing your time and your knowledge and your memories.
I always will with you, Adam. Thank you very much, buddy.
God willing, I hope to make it to the show this Sunday. Once again, the New Jersey Collector's Dust.
Are you going to be there?
I'm God willing, if I can, working on get myself some transportation. Unless you want to put a blind person in front of a car.
If I what now? Unless I want to what?
You know, yeah, I should be there.
Oh, good. I can't wait to see you.
Yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to going to an actual convention for the first time in a year.
All right. Yeah. Welcome. Come on back. You know, it's just like it used to be before the pandemic. Everybody is over that, and it's good.
That is great.
So I'll see you Sunday.
Where can my audience find you online?
Facebook. And I do have an Instagram account. Both of those under, just go to Larry Kenny, you know, and you'll find me there.
Well, Larry, thank you for the memories, and you have a great night.
Thanks, Adam. Good to see you again, buddy.
Good to see you too, man.
All right, take care.
Take care. Well, everyone, dreams come true. Please remember, you don't need sight to have a vision. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. And that's all you need is a dollar, a dream, a will, and a way. And taking the most difficult step, which is the first step, and you can achieve anything. Tonight, this is podcast Dream Come True. This is a blast. I thank you all for being part of the Awesome Sauce family. I love you guys. Always keep one foot in the gutter, one fist in the cold. Be too hot to handle, be too cold to hold. I hope to see some of you this Sunday at the New Jersey Collector's Fest. I'd like to give my buddy Kenny Lawrence a shout out. Hopefully I get to make it. I love you all. Blind Adam out.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites in the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.